Today, I'm really excited about having Anik Singal on as our presenter. I've been watching him for a while and just watching his company grow to grow at unbelievable speeds. He is a really sharp, up-and-coming entrepreneur. On his website now, just a couple months ago, he was 300,000 entrepreneurs enrolled in his program. Now he has over 400,000 entrepreneurs worldwide attracted to his programs and are taking programs on his site. Little jealous of you, Anik, the fact that you've had some really amazing writers in the about business, such as Robert Kiyosaki and others giving you testimonials. That's pretty solid stuff, pretty amazing stuff. So we, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And I got just a couple of questions before I turn it over to you, because everybody wants to hear about your entrepreneurial journey and then your focus on the future. My first question for you now is that I see so many things that you're involved in. What is your key inspiration right now? What's driving you right now?
That's actually a really good question. So for me, it's disruption in the education space. It's one of the spaces that needs disruption. It's a really powerful industry, and it's not getting disrupted. So in my opinion, I think there's a lot of different things people can do as they graduate from high school in order to go into their careers and their futures, and not just entrepreneurship, but I think there's different approaches that people can take. And that is something that's really been driving me, actually keeping me up at night. So I think Learn is doing its part now. The company that I founded is starting to do its part to disrupt that in the near future.
Here's one we read a lot of books in CEO Focus, and with the CEOs that I work with, and they always, each CEO has their own particular book that has inspired them. Do you have an entrepreneurial book or some author that just struck you and that really made a difference in your business career?
Yeah, actually, Scaling Up by Vern Harsh has been massively influential in our business. As a matter of fact, 2017, we were introduced to it. So Rockefeller Habits of Growing a Business is what it's based on. And 2017, we just took off. Our growth was insane. And then by 2018, we got distracted. What happens with a lot of entrepreneurs, started doing other things and kind of defocused ourselves from the principles in Scaling Up, and we hurt for it. And this year we've refocused back on it, and no surprise, we're growing super fast again.
Terrific. And then finally, before we turn this over to you, what's your biggest challenge today for you and your company?
Biggest challenge today, honestly, is just hiring fast enough. And it's not because we can't find the talent. It's a challenge that, it's a challenge we invite. It's just when you hire someone, you need to onboard them. So you need to make sure that you have the appropriate environment for this new leadership, this new team to come in and thrive. And so that is what's been holding us back from hiring faster. But that's, it's a challenge that gets addressed with time. So the more leadership we build and hire, the more capability we have to onboard. That's probably our number one challenge. Another challenge is just we were starting to do really well with in-person events. We actually built an entire facility here in Rockville, right, Maryland. Obviously, COVID has kind of, put a little dull spot on that, but that's okay. It'll come back.
Good. Well, look, let's turn it over to you. Let's hear your story, your entrepreneur story, and let the audience know, give us that minute overview of what you do, and then tell us the story.
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to having me here. Thank you to NABOE for just, hosting me, and I'm excited to tell my story. I definitely have, I call it a Hollywood story. So it's got its ups, it's got its downs, it's got all the thrills and roller coaster rides of a good entrepreneurial story. A little bit about myself and my company. So my company, we are an entrepreneurship We're an entrepreneurship education company. We're a digital company. We offer digital education. At the core, we're a publishing company. So we publish courses from experts all over the world on a variety of topics. We have household names like Robert Kiyosaki. We just signed an amazing deal with Damon John from Shark Tank. We'll be publishing him as of January. Actually also got a big brand endorsement deal with him. So lots of big names, and also a lot of names that are true experts in their field, but may not be household names, like experts in Facebook marketing or YouTube marketing. And our goal and mission is to help and empower entrepreneurs. We don't want to just educate though. And that's where we start to really make a difference, or we differentiate ourselves from other companies. We want to facilitate community and connection. Not unlike what you're doing here at NABOE, but we want to do it virtually at a grander scale, in the sense of, entrepreneurship is one of the most lonely businesses, lonely things you can ever do. It's you by nature of the business, you are not surrounded by people like yourself. So think about it. If you're a doctor, every day you go to work, you're surrounded by peers, engineer, lawyers. However, an entrepreneur, every day you go to work, you're on your own. And we don't have enough time a lot of times to commune and to network with one another, to help each other. So when I was in college, I was in a program at University of Maryland called Hinman CEOs. It was awesome. We live together, work together, have guidance, leadership, mentorship, and we can work with one another. Now I graduated, I felt completely on my own. I didn't know what I was doing, didn't know what was going on. So I luckily got admitted into an incubator program, but only 1% of applicants get admitted. 99% go off and are still on their own. And so that was what Learn set out to really resolve as a mission was, hey, how do we build this community of entrepreneurs so that we can get rid of that? And not just virtually, but physically. We built a center here in Rockville, 26,000 square feet, where we have lecture halls, classrooms, and all of that. So as of today, we've trained over 1.2 million entrepreneurs worldwide. In the last 17 years that I've been doing this, we have almost 500,000 members in our platform now, which we beta launched in 2018, and it's still in beta. It's not going to be out of beta for another year. It's still a baby compared to all the features that are coming for it. Personally, I've sold at this point over $300 million worth of products online. I'm a principal in 7 companies, CEO of 1, but there's a lot of other companies I'm involved in. So truly a entrepreneur at heart. My wife and I also run a nonprofit that we're very proud of. You can check us out at Singal, SINGAL.org. We help build schools for children that live in the slums of India. We're currently finishing up a hospital. And we also adopt villages for micro entrepreneurship funds in Africa. So, we do pretty much as we possibly can, and we're really blessed to do it. For me, my journey started right out of college. So today's presentation, Ron, I was thinking about it. As I tell my journey, there's a lot of lessons learned, and specifically right now, I'm coming off of a 1-month sabbatical. And I want to end by telling the story of that, because it's a unique thing that most entrepreneurs don't do. And it's funny, we were talking about life coaches earlier. You were mentioning it. I brought on a life coach about 5 months ago. And the second or third week, she gave me a challenge that was probably one of the hardest challenges I've ever been asked to complete. And it changed my life. And it was this sabbatical. But during the sabbatical, I had a lot of time to think. And that time, almost every lesson I would talk about today, every key thing I want to come to, my whole story will culminate into lessons about team building and how important the people in your business are and the team in your business, and not just team, but very specifically leadership. And I just have had a lot of lessons around that. And I think a lot of lessons, unfortunately, that mistakes I had to make 2 or 3 times before I really nailed it down. So for me, I got started right out of college. So we're talking freshman year. The thing was this: I was facing a challenge in college, and that challenge really impacts the question you asked me earlier, where I talked about my desire to disrupt education. So my first year of college, I was actually at UMBC. I was in an amazing program on a full scholarship, on a one-way ticket to an Ivy League medical program. I was perfectly fit and situated to become a doctor. And I thought since I was a kid that that's what I want to do, that was what I wanted of my life. Because when I looked around in my community, my cousins, my friends, my families, my uncles, aunts, the ones with the most respect, they were doctors. They were doing the best. They had lots of money, great cars. I mean, as a kid, this is what you see in process. My first semester, it's not even a first semester, my first week into college, I remember waking up one morning. I had to go to a biology class. It was a 9 a.m. biology class. And I had the fear of God come over me where I said, what have I done? This is not for me. I don't want to go to class. And I started to pull that thread. I recognized that feeling, and I pulled that thread, and I was scared to pull it, but I pulled it. And what I discovered is I kept thinking back to my third grade experience. I had a really funny third grade experience. In third grade, so I was born here, but then at a very young age, my parents and my family, we moved back to India. And then in third grade again, we moved back. So when I moved back here, just making friends and everything, but I set up a lemonade stand. Now we hear this story all the time, right? Kids that set up their lemonade stand. The reason mine was interesting, and had there been an entrepreneur in our family, I think they would have picked up on this early. I built the lemonade stand, but I hired second graders to run the lemonade stand. And I would be inside watching cartoons. And I had a deal set up with the second graders so they would come, get the stand set up, run the stand. They even brought their own supplies. They had to purchase and bring their own supplies. And at the end of the day, they would come and give me a little box that had change in it. That was our revenue for the day. And at the end of the week, I'd settle with them. And that business got shut down because my employee's mother figured out that they were actually losing money, that the supplies of lemons and sugar and water was costing more than I was providing them in compensation. But I kept thinking about that time when I was in college, and I thought early on, man, and the whole idea of work hard, get a job, then work even harder, slowly climb, it just wasn't resonating. So after a lot of turmoil, sophomore year, I abandoned this program. Remember, full scholarship, one-way ticket to Ivy League. My parents were amazing. They supported me. They were like, hey, it's your life. I switched to College Park. I lose my full scholarship. Now my parents have to spend all this money on college. I go into business. I made a really big change. First week now I'm in Robert H. Smith Business School, financial degree is what I'm looking for. It's like a week or 2 weeks into school, and I'm like, I hate this too. And that was when I got really scared, because I thought, okay, I am going to end up in my parents' basement because I'm going to be a college dropout. I'm going to fail. What am I going to tell my parents? I'm a very reflective person. So that's one thing I will say that's been a strength of mine is I don't have feelings and then put them under the carpet. If there is something going on, I explore it. I dive deep into it. So this feeling of I hate this too, I thought, let's dive deeper into this. What's happening? What's really going on? And I think that was where I had the biggest realization was I didn't have a problem with school. I didn't have a problem with classes. I had a problem with the idea of just theory only. I was ready. I wanted to go out and do. I wanted to get my hands dirty. I wanted to apply, and I wanted to learn by doing. So it was junior year at this point, and I decided I want to start a business. Now, I had already been researching things because the desire to start a business had already happened to me about a year before that. I turned to good old Google, and you'll never believe, I typed into Google, I typed in how to make money. That was what I typed in. And Google auto-filled for me. They auto-filled online. So it ended up filling how to make money online. And I remember just kind of shrugging my shoulders and saying, whatever, sure. Right? I mean, that's not what I set out to do. But I clicked it, and I went down the most interesting journey of clicking into envelope stuffing schemes and all this random stuff until I found, and I knew none of that was for me. Then I find this one forum that talks about selling education. Now, being a kid in college who spends thousands of dollars every semester on textbooks, that idea just resonated. Selling information online. And I start to meet people that are making a ton of money. What I used to call basement entrepreneurs. They were just in their basement, sitting in their PJs, making 10, 20, 30, 40 grand a month. And I believed it. There were a lot of them. You could talk to them on these forums. They were there, and it just made sense. I don't know what about it, the model, the business itself. And so I started really learning it. And you know what? 18 months. And this is what I really talk about. A lot of entrepreneurs, because I talk to entrepreneurs every day, I coach and teach them every day. And one thing I've realized is entrepreneurs are super impatient. It's part of our DNA, right? But 18 months, I slogged away at trying to make that business work. So now I'm coming into my senior year of college. I'm starting to get great job offers on Wall Street, and it's just things are not clicking. But I don't know why till this day that I stuck it out. What was it about me? I just would not give up. I genuinely do not have an answer, but thank God I did stick it out. Now, here's what happens. This is a really cool story. So I call it my first angelic moment. I go back to this forum and I simply posted this one day. I was fed up. I was tired. I was like, you know what? It's not for me. I got to get a job, just move on with life. Business not for me. So I go to the forum and I say, hey, everybody, thank you for all your help. Thank you for all the support you've given me. If I don't finally have any breakthrough in the next 24 hours, if I don't make any money in the next 24 hours, I quit. And you won't see me again. Wish you all the best and talk to you guys later. Now, a couple of things in that post that I find very interesting. One, I'd been trying for 18 months and failing. Why didn't I just quit? What was the point of giving myself a 24-hour window? What was going to change in 24 hours? What I'd done in 18 months hadn't worked. Anyways, a couple hours after I make that post, I get a private message on the forum. You got to remember something. This is back when like Facebook wasn't there. Well, I think Facebook had just started, but there was no Messenger. There was no Skype. There was no WhatsApp. There was no, someone was private messaging me on this forum. Okay. They sent me a message and said something very close to, hey kid, been watching you for, over a year now. Really love your hustle. Would hate to see you quit. If you're willing, for the next 24 hours, I will personally help answer all your questions and help you, and we'll get you to make that first dollar so you don't quit. However, I have two conditions. This is like a genuinely true story. Two conditions. One, I will not tell you who I am. You will not know my name. Number two, you got to do this for someone else in the future. Now, you got to imagine, I sat back when this person had zero post history on the forum. They had not once posted publicly on the forum. They had never messaged me. I had never seen their name. I was convinced it was someone trolling me. Someone getting a rise out of my bad day. And I even typed out a message that said, no, thanks, whatever. I didn't want this person to get a rise out of my bad day. About to hit submit, and my finger pulls off. And I said, what do I have to lose? So what if this person gets a laugh? I'm going to be out of here anyways. So I erased the message and I said, let's do it. And that day I was up with this person going back, private messaging back and forth until 3 a.m. I finally went to sleep at 3. I sprang out of bed at 9 a.m. I had to get to class and I ran to my computer because we had done some things that night together. We had changed my marketing, changed my pages. And would you believe that over the 6 hours I had been sleeping that night, I had made $310. That was more money I'd made in 6 hours of sleeping that I had made in 18 months of hustling combined. And I remember messaging this person saying, oh my God, it worked. Thank you so much. This is so amazing. I'm not going to quit. I know what to do now. And I said, please tell me who you are so I can properly thank you. The person never replied to me till this day. That message went and I never heard back from them. That started my journey. It was an amazing moment. I learned some core skills. What he taught me or what she taught me that night was things that have to do with conversion, page, getting people to your traffic to a website and how to convert them. And I learned a really cool business model, which I started to stretch. That was really early senior year. That year, I went on to make my first $1 million in revenue in the first year in business. Well, first year that it was making revenue, and took off. Now, here's the predicament. I start to get all these great job offers from Wall Street. The ones that my friends are dying for. They're coming in, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Chase. And I'm sitting here scratching my head because my business is taking off at that time. And I go to my dad and I say, what do I do? And my dad, of all people, my dad is a mechanical nuclear engineer. He is a man who believes in the security and sanctity of an amazing job. And I was sure he was going to say, take the job. And my dad looks at me and says, let me ask you a question, son. 10 years from now, what do you see yourself doing? Working for a company or having your own company? And it didn't take more than 3 seconds. I was like, oh my God, having my own company, of course. He goes, don't take the job. Don't do it. This is the time in your life. Live in the basement. Do what you need to do. Hustle it out. Do your business. I did. Best advice he ever gave me. After this, things took off. I'm going to kind of skip forward. I'm going to talk a little bit about scaling because after this, here's the irony. I actually ended up in my parents' basement. My biggest fear actually happened because that's where I set up my first office. So I stayed home, but I started traveling. 75% of the year I was traveling. I was speaking on stage. I was speaking for Tony Robbins in front of 5,000 people. I was in Singapore, Malaysia. I was in Europe. I was everywhere. So I was home, even though I was so successful, because I mean, I was only home for like a week out of every 6-7 weeks. So it was ironic that I ended up in the basement, but my business starts to take off and I get into this incubator program and I start to scale and hire. And, you know, next thing I know, I built a huge, beautiful office in Gaithersburg, Maryland, near Lake Forest Mall. Amazing, top floor, windows all around. It was beautiful. And then, you know, business is taking off and it's doing so well. I start to have a little bit of a swagger to myself. Young guy, doing really well. It was like this. Everything I touched, boom, took off. So it's like, of course, I'm just awesome. Anything I do is amazing. So why don't we do bigger, badder? Why are we playing around in these little things? Let's go do big things. So I thought, education. I am going to disrupt education. I'm going to create a platform. And I had this idea on an elliptical machine. I was at a gym. And on an elliptical machine, I have this idea for a platform I'm going to build. Now, I want everyone to take a second and I want to pause and say, I can barely turn my computer on in the morning. Like, I am not a technical person. Just because people say, oh, you're young, you're a tech. There's a funny side story. Skype wasn't working on my computer for a month. True story. And I was getting so frustrated. This is years ago. My best friend comes over one day and I'm like, man, he's a little technical. I said, can you please check my Skype? I just can't get it to work. He opens the Skype app up, goes to the top and clicks login. And he's like, you've not been logged in. So this is me, technically. And I have this idea. I'm going to build a platform. It's going to be the Facebook of education. All right, Anik, you don't know a diddly thing about technology. What are you going to do? What is everyone else doing? They go to India. There's a bunch of technical people in India. And you know what? Hey, I'm Indian. I know the language. I got a step up on everybody. So just so happens to be one of the companies I used to outsource some work to, little bits. Oh, guess where they are? India. They're in Mumbai, India, a place I know nothing about, right? My family is not from that region of India. Hadn't been to India at that point in 15 years. Booked a flight. Let's go out to Mumbai, India, see what's going on and build an office or do something and get a bunch of technical people to build me this platform. So I go out there. I eventually end up buying that company. Worst decision of my life. I set up an office there. Why? Simple connection I made as an entrepreneur. Just, okay, every time I had a problem, throw a person at it. Have a problem, throw a person at it. Have a problem, throw a person at it. Got to a place where I had 100 people, almost 96 people in the company. I had 38 technical people. And I had some of the worst technology on the face of the planet. I had more technical problems every day. The platform wasn't even up. It wasn't even up yet. I was having technical issues in the simple parts of my business. So it was truly anarchy. And it was just children running around. And now you go back and think, I had no management. I had no leadership. So long story short, here's a business model that's been working really well for me. That was everything I touch turns to gold, making millions, doing great, scaling. But it's so boring. Oh my God, it's too easy. Blah, boring. So let's just pour all of our energy and money into this model that we know nothing about, have no expertise on, have no management for, have no people for, and let's just focus fully on that. Well, to stack on top of it, 2008 happens. Markets crash, things crash. Now, here's the funny thing. I kind of look around and my business doesn't get impacted. It's very much like what's happening with COVID. If anything, I kind of felt like for a while my business took off. For us this year, we've had 150% growth. It's been insane. Our growth this year has been the fastest growing year we've had ever. Most profitable year in 17 years of history. Just crazy year. But I have learned some lessons from what happened to my business in 2008, and I am prepped for it now. So 2008, I'm starting to lose money. I'm starting to have issues, but there was money in the bank. I'm like, it's okay. So what do? As I'm watching the tenured CEOs and people actually pull back, cut expenses, downsize teams, protect the business, I'm like, nope, double down. It's not working, hire more people. So I increase my expenses. And by 2010, reality of it hits. I am 26 years old at this point. I fall $1.7 million in debt. Real debt, not makeshift debt. This is MasterCard, Visa, American Express, the local bank. My parents, this is the part really always breaks my heart, but I love my parents. But my dad caught me one day really upset, very sad. I actually got pretty bad. Started drinking. I had a moment, and I'll tell you guys about it. But not proud of it, but I talk about it because it's a part of my life. It's a part of the story. And I want people to hear that this stuff happens to entrepreneurs. But my father actually mortgaged his entire paid off home for me. And now if I was going to fail, I was going to take down people with me. My best friend, young guy, had $170,000 to his name, gave me 160. I mean, it was, talk about stress and pressure. I already have health conditions. I have a health condition called Crohn's disease. Stress is not the best thing for it. I started ending up in the hospital every 3 months with massive internal bleeding. I was at a place in my life where I said I would not wish the worst enemies I ever have in my life to go through what I was going through. And I had this moment. I had a true wake-up call. So this is my second angelic moment in my life. So all of this is happening. Things are breaking. I have a big office in India. I have a big office in Gaithersburg here. Business is falling apart. Revenue's falling apart. Money's being spent. I got phone calls coming in. Then actually some legislation was passed also. I'm forgetting the name of it right off the top of my head. But basically my bank, where I had a $350,000 credit line, comes back and says, yeah, you got to pay that up. You have a month. We can't give you credit anymore. So 350,000 I had to pay up in a month. So I'm on a flight. So again, remember, I'm having all these health issues. So I'm on a flight to India. I got to go to India. One of my guys there is getting married. Just checking in my office. I have a layover in Amsterdam. On the flight to Amsterdam, I start to feel not well. I can feel it. I know something's not right. I get to Amsterdam and whatever. Let me get on my next flight to India. I'll figure it out. I get to the gate and they're like, sorry, sir, you've been bumped. I'm like, bumped? Yes, you can't fly today. You'll have to wait here till tomorrow. I was blown away. I'm like, I've never been bumped. Are you kidding me? I fly on this airline once every month. I have massive points, status. What are you doing? Fight. They're like, sorry, here's a hotel. No, nothing we can do. That night in the hotel, I ended up in the corner, curled up in a ball, massively sick. I passed out a few times. Would you believe I woke up at 3 or 4 in the morning? I rebooked myself a flight back home. I was like, I got to get back to my doctor. So can I go to India anymore? I get to the airport. I could barely make it to the flight. I'm just making it to the plane. I'm boarding the plane and the gate agent says, sir, are you okay? Apparently I didn't look well. I said, yeah, I'm tired. I just need to get on the seat. I sat down, put my bag down. That's the last thing I remember. I blacked out. And next thing I know, I'm being slapped up. I'm strapped to a stretcher and I'm being pulled off the plane, and the plane is pulled over on the runway. And I go back to hear the story from the paramedics, and they tell me that as the plane was taxiing, the person sitting next to me noticed that something just wasn't right about me, and they waved the flight attendant down. And they could have just thought I was sleeping. Had the plane taken off, I would have died, because what they discovered when I got to the hospital is I had lost about 40% of my body's blood. I was having massive internal bleeding. And I end up in a hospital in Amsterdam, all alone, tied down to the bed, all these monitors on me, all these things on me. And I realized something. What the heck have I done with my life? I remember laughing and saying, I got into being an entrepreneur for financial freedom. I literally am not free to go pee right now on my own. Like, I am tied down to this bed, and my parents are freaking out, trying to get on a flight to get over here. I'm in massive debt. I'm taking people down with me. What have I done? Like, what is going on? A huge wake-up call. So I come back to US and shut it all down. I was 1.7 million in debt, hit the reset button. I had one night, I stayed up until 2 a.m. in my office, the night that I was giving up the keys to the office. I whiteboarded the whole day, the whole night. What did I do? Where did I go wrong? Where did I make my mistakes? How did I go from the top to the bottom so freaking quickly? And what I discovered that night was that I abandoned systems that were really working for me. And a lot of entrepreneurs, we have shiny object syndrome, and we do this. We abandon systems that work. And I also realized I bit off way more than I could chew. And I just did not, to me, I think an entrepreneur always feels like they have to be the hero. They have to be the leader. They have to know everything, do everything, guide everything, pioneer everything in their company. And I went off to do this big thing where I didn't know anything about what I was doing. And whereas the whole time I shouldn't have even thought about doing it until so technology, I should have had a CTO, a proper VP of engineering, or someone who I was a marketer. I'm a sales guy. That's what I do. I'm great at it. I'm a business strategy guy, not a technical person. So I hit the reset button. I'm really proud to say I never had to declare bankruptcy, although that's what my lawyers wanted me to do. I paid back every penny plus interest to everybody within 16 months from the day I hit the reset button. And I never made that mistake again. I made new mistakes, lots of them in 2018 and 19. But from there, we started to grow the business. I also found my mission. I was like, why am I doing this? Because if I'm going to build a business just to make a bunch of money, I'm going to get bored. Money doesn't mean anything to me. So that was where I said, you know what? I set out in the beginning. Is my dream, my passion is to disrupt education. My dream and my passion is to give people an alternate route, an alternate way. Right now in our company, we're getting ready to announce an amazing education program for veterans, which will be free for any veteran, which actually teaches them skills, marketing skills that they can market, especially if they're disabled. They're going to learn skills that are multiple six-figure earning skills that they can be disabled and still do. And that was the kind of stuff that used to wake me up in the morning and say, yeah, we can make a difference in people's lives by doing this. So we started back on that road 7 years ago, the new business, the one I wanted to build, which is called Learn, ironically, right? We misspelled the word learn on purpose. We spell it L-U-R-N. It's a little jab at what we're going to do in the industry. And my lessons that I've learned. And so why have we seen ridiculous growth this year? Why did 2018 and 19 were hard for us. And one of the things I started to fix at the end of 2019 was we sat back and I cleared my budget and I made room for leadership. And one of the mistakes, because I had tried to hire leadership a few years ago too. Just hiring someone smart is not enough. That's what I was doing. I would look for really brilliant, smart people. Wrong. Now what I look for, experience in my business first. Literally, if I'm looking for a VP of marketing, which I am right now, I am so specific on what I want. They have to have specific skill sets. They have to be from my industry, and you know what? My candidate pool right now, off of LinkedIn, deep search for the position I'm currently searching for actively, the number of people that in this country, because we hire virtually, is 86 people. That is my candidate pool. And I actually have 20 interviews lined up. And I'm only going to bring on the person. And that I've become very relentless now on what we're looking for. And we will not. So when we're growing our company, we pause. 2019, we stepped back. Nope, not a growth year for us. We can't handle it. Step back. What do we need? So now what I've been doing this last month is I've built an org chart of what my company looks like in 3 years. And I'm actually stepping back as a CEO. This is my role, I feel. I'm writing a job description for every single one of the positions, especially the ones that I feel I need to fill in the next year. But these job descriptions, man, they're not like your typical job descriptions. I mean, they are different, unique. They're living, breathing pieces that I genuinely believe someone who fills that position, they should print out and keep in front of them. It explains to the T what that job is supposed to do in a very, very vibrant way, in the way that a lot of people actually read our job descriptions and say, loved reading it. It was so awesome. I was going to apply for this job and realized it's not for me. I'm not qualified. And we love that. So we are all about leadership, hiring leadership, but being very specific about who we're hiring right now. That's it. That's my job as a CEO. By the way, I'm no longer the hero in the company. I am definitely the weakest in almost there is someone stronger than me in every aspect of our business now in our company. There's probably only business development and business strategy where maybe I still stay as one of like, okay, I'm better than the rest of my team at, but not for long until I bring someone else who is. My job is to bring them together, to put the right team together. My job is to have the vision of who we need, what we need, when we need. The rest is their job. I have changed and completely evolved. This is over the last few months. It's made my life better. It's made my business take off. And it's made it, I have seen the light. I know how I, as an entrepreneur now, can build 50 businesses. Like I see what apparently Richard Branson saw decades ago. It's coming now. I get it. And the sabbatical was the nail in the coffin that helped me see it. The sabbatical, I took 1 month. Can you imagine a high A, intense, weeded in entrepreneur decides for 1 month, I'm out. I mean, and when I said I was out, I was out. Like a true story, 2 days before I was coming back, I couldn't find my laptop. I had no idea where it was because I hadn't opened it in a month. I took that time and literally I would go out and test drive cars because I love cars. I would go out and have fun. But oh my God, the strengths and weaknesses in our company that appeared, we had people resign and it was like, thank God they resigned. I found out those were the people that I was holding together like this. I was just holding them together and it was so much stress on me physically and mentally. And when I wasn't there for just 2 weeks to hold it all together like this, they were like, they left. Best ever. Strengths came up, people stepped up. And when I came back, someone's like, hey, Anik, so do you want to take this responsibility back that you had given to me? I said, no, you did a great job. Keep it. I'm going to take that time and go off and do other things. So I really would stress to everybody, not just entrepreneurs, but leaders. I lovingly call it leadership through absence. Take some time and just like disappear for a few days or a week or two and watch what is your department or what your team does. And so, but yeah, so that for me has just, I can't tell you, this is recent. I mean, my sabbatical finished less than 2 weeks ago. I came back fresh, ready to attack, and with so much clarity. I'm looking at my team and my organization from bird's eye. I just know exactly what we need to hit next. And for me, I have made that switch, I realized this year at some point. I don't know when it was. It was in the last 5 months. I went from entrepreneur to CEO. Very different things. And I'll be very honest. I don't really think I really like being a CEO. It's not for me. It's too much work. It's my opinion. It's way too much work. I want to do it once. And I do think though, the entrepreneur is where my skill set is. So I see my future being the person that comes in, the tornado that paves the path, has the idea, puts that initial team together, funds it, but then brings in people way smarter, way better, way more structured than I to run it. And so that's all over the last few months that I've picked up. So now my skill, what am I learning the most? Hiring. And by the way, if you hire and you don't have LinkedIn Recruiter Lite, if there's nothing else you take away today, please get a membership. It's $100 a month. It is, I don't care for leadership positions. I don't look at anyone who applies to us. It's rare. I go out, I find people. True leaders, great leaders, they're not going to be out looking for jobs. And we use LinkedIn Recruiter Lite. I love it. Absolutely love it. And we have found some amazing talent using it. So that's really just to summarize, that's where we are. Leadership, hiring, getting the right people, and being relentless about who you hire. Just because you fall in love with someone, don't do it. Interview a ton of people, put them through the ringer, put them through the process, make sure they have the exact skill sets you need, be very specific on what you're looking for, and keep looking until you find them. They are out there. Don't compromise.